Right, what's up guys, Diuretics here, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So before we get into today's video, and I start dropping you guys some knowledge bombs, I need you to do me something. I need you to click the subscribe button, give the video a big thumbs up, and if you've got any questions about anything that we're going to be discussing today, drop it in the comment section and I will make sure I respond to all of you guys because I'm nice like that. So, as I'm 4 days out from my next competition, I thought it was only fitting that I did a video explaining a little peak week protocol with you guys. Now, let me just stress one thing. The peak week is not a miracle week, okay? All you're trying to do is come on stage, big, full, and dry. If you are not absolutely shredded a week out from a competition, it doesn't matter what you do in peak week, doesn't matter how many diuretics you take, doesn't matter how much you mess around with your carbs, your water, you are not going to look shredded on stage, okay? So, don't expect peak week to be some miracle week that is going to transport your soggy ass into striated glutes if you're not lean before it. So this is a dead simple basic protocol that the majority of people will use. However, I'm not saying you need to use it. Okay, you do not necessarily need to use this kind of format. You do not have to use this strategy. If you're already lean, sometimes you can literally just cruise into a show, keep your food exactly the same, maybe add in a few extra carbs the last couple of days, manipulate your water, step on stage, happy days. But we are going to go through this protocol because it's quite a well-used protocol and it has proven to be quite successful. I've competed 15 times and I've used this kind of system the majority of the time. So I'm going to break it down day by day. So we are going to imagine that show day is on Sunday. So we're going to start our peak week on Monday. So what we're going to start doing is our carb depletion phase. So what we want to do is deplete our body of glycogen. So then when we start to load our body with glycogen, it does that super compensation thing where because it's been so depleted, it literally hugs onto all of those beautiful carbohydrates, stores them in the muscle as glycogen, and it gives you that big, bubbly, full look. So in order to start that process, we're going to start by depleting the glycogen in our body. So Monday, I'm just going to use some example numbers. This is all going to be different depending on how many carbs you've been eating throughout the whole of your prep and also how big you are as well. So I'm just going to say on Monday we're going to drop down to 50 grams of carbohydrates. Some people go 0 carbs, not really for me. I normally would go about 50 grams. Protein we're going to pretty much keep it at baseline and fats we're going to keep it at baseline. What I mean by baseline is the same amount that you've been eating throughout the whole of your prep, or if you've slightly manipulated those numbers, the last 2 weeks of your prep. Water, we're going to drink 4.5 litres of water. So I'll go through the water loading phase with you separately. So, Tuesday, again, exactly the same as Monday. Wednesday, exactly the same as Monday. So 3 days of depletion. By that point, your body should be really flat. When you're training in the gym, you should be training just to deplete glycogen, okay? High reps, high volume, just trying to utilize as much glycogen in your body to make sure you are nice and depleted. We're not trying to lift any world records during this period of time. We don't really want to be massively breaking down the muscle tissue because obviously we want to make sure we look fresh and recovered come the time we step on stage. So that is the depletion phase done. Thursday is going to be day 1 of our carb up. Again, how much you eat during the carb up depends on the individual. I would always recommend getting in shape a few weeks before and running at least 1, if not 2, trial peak weeks so you can kind of see how your body responds to a certain amount of carbohydrates. Because then there's no guesswork. Because even after you've competed as many years as I have, your body will respond differently every single year. If you're holding on to more muscle, your body might require more glycogen. It always is going to respond differently. So what works well last year isn't always necessarily going to work well this year. So I've said on Thursday, we're going to do 600 grams of carbs. Some people will do double that. I personally don't need that many carbs to look full. With that said, because I'm increasing my calories through carbohydrates, and carbohydrates are also protein sparing, I'm going to cut my protein down by about 50%. So if I'd normally have 200 grams of cooked chicken per meal, I'm going to pull that back to 100 grams per meal. And fats, I'm going to keep them nice and low, okay? And then Friday, this is all going to depend on how you wake up on Thursday. So if, for example, 600 grams of carbs, you look nice and full, on Friday you might decide, okay, I'm going to run 600 grams again. If you're worried about spilling over, you might want to pull that back to 400. If you're looking a little bit flat still, you might want to increase that up to 800. So that number is always going to be dictated by how you look. And that's why you cannot set out a set, structured protocol for peak week, because it all depends on how your body responds, okay? You don't want to come in too flat, but also you don't want to go crazy on the carb up so you kind of spill over and you start holding water. So Friday, exactly the same in the fact that we're going to have higher carbohydrates, less protein, low fats. So hopefully by the time we've woken up on Saturday, we are nice and full. So what we'll then start looking at doing is drying out. So for me, I find that high protein, high fats really helps me with the dry out process. So on Saturday, I'm already full. I'm not going to be training at this point. I'm not going to be doing any cardio. I'm literally going to be resting and holding on to that glycogen because I do not want to use it. But what we will be doing is protein can go back up to baseline, and we're going to increase our fats above baseline. Okay? So the fats are going to help keep us full, and also it's going to help dry us out. When it comes to water manipulation for getting dry, so we've already said on Monday we're going to start on 4.5 litres of water. That's just a personal preference for me. I don't like drinking excess amount of water, 8, 9, 10 litres, because it just feels uncomfortable. I do not like the feeling in my stomach. It makes me feel a little bit sick. I don't need to do it. So for me, I normally would drink around 3 to 4 litres of water every day throughout prep. So on Monday, I'm going to increase it by half a litre to 4.5. Tuesday, I'm going to increase it to 5. Wednesday, I'm going to increase it by 5.5. During the carb up phase, I'm going to increase it to 6 litres, okay? So what you're trying to do is increase the amount of water that you're drinking, because what that's going to do is increase the speed that you're flushing that water out, okay? So as you're drinking it, your body's going to be excreting it at quite a fast pace. And then what then will happen is when we reduce the amount of water that's going in, we're still going to be excreting it at quite a fast pace. So therefore, it's going to get us nice and dry and help flush the water out. One of the best diuretics you can use is water. Okay, so with that said, what we're then going to do is on the Saturday, we're just going to pull the water back. Don't cut water completely, okay? You do not need to do zero water. It makes no sense whatsoever. So with every meal, I would recommend having maybe 200 mils of water with every meal that you're going to consume on that Saturday, and also depending on what we do on show day. Do not cut water completely. Also, another mistake that people do is cut sodium. So people think that sodium is obviously going to make you store external water outside of the muscle cell. So basically you have intracellular water, and then you have external cellular water, i.e. water that's stored in the muscle, water that is stored outside of the muscle. So if you increase your carbs, cut water, cut sodium, your body needs sodium and water to help transport glycogen into the muscles. So do not cut sodium and water as you increase your carbohydrates, okay? The only thing I do with sodium is I slightly increase it on the days I carb up. So if I have 4 grinds of salt per meal, I might increase that to 6 grinds of salt per meal, just to help with that transportation of glycogen into the cell, okay? Then on Saturday, I will just not add in any sodium because I don't need it. My body is already full because all the carbohydrates are still in my muscles. I've not really done anything to kind of utilize that glycogen, so my body is still staying full. So therefore, just by not increasing the sodium, I'm just potentially not increasing the risk of holding any extracellular water. However, there's also a thing called diuretics. So people will use diuretics because diuretics obviously help excrete water from your body. So there's a few different ways you can do diuretics. You can either use the herbal diuretics such as dandelion root, uber aphis is really good, vitamin C is also really good, and also caffeine's really good as well. So they're all natural diuretics that you can use to help push the water out of your body. If you're not tested, then a lot of people will commonly use Diazide, because Diazide, I don't want to use the phrase safe because nothing, when it comes to dabbling with water is safe, but it's probably one of the safest options out of all the non-over-the-shelf type diuretics. So the reason why people like using Diazide is because it's potassium sparing. So potassium helps with obviously holding intracellular water, and also if you risk kind of depleting your body of potassium, you can die at the end of the day. It can be that severe, and people have done it. Severe. This is what happens when you're like, prep. So that's basically it in regards to diuretics. So I've done both options. I've used the natural diuretics, which I've probably used 14 of the shows, and I've used Diazide once. I didn't really notice a massive difference in regards to my dryness on stage. So when it actually comes to show day, what to do on show day. Now this all depends on when you're on stage. Ideally, you don't want to be eating too much food because you want to make sure, especially for me because I compete in classic, I want my stomach to be able to be nice and flat so I can do that semi-vacuum, keep my waist nice and small. I don't want to have the risk of having lots of food in my stomach because I don't want to risk bloating. So on Sunday, it all depends on what time you're on stage. So usually I'll wake up, I'll have a high fat, high protein breakfast. If I feel like I'm a little bit flat, then what I might do is have a little bit of carbohydrate with that meal as well. So throughout the day, I might just snack on a few rice cakes with some peanut butter and some jam on it, because rice cakes digest really easy. Jam's obviously very low in volume, but it's just going to help keep those glycogen levels topped up, and the fats are just going to slow down the breakdown of those carbohydrates and also help to keep you full and dry. Have a little bit of water every hour, have a little bit of sip of water, because again, 70% of your muscle is made up of water, so you need to make sure that you're having water, okay? So I hope you guys found that useful. Again, if you've got any questions about anything, then drop them down below. I'll make sure I respond back to all of you. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, do so now, and until next time, peace.